Okay, hey everybody. I was working hard yesterday on the sheet, ran into some difficulties trying to paint around the camera, but I'm back at it again today and I'll show you where I am and maybe do a little bit with you. This wicker basket that you're seeing, that is my rendition of the little basket that Beatrix Potter, the movie Beatrix Potter, the character carried around with her when she was painting. And this was the best that I could find. I believe it was a little picnic basket or something. And we managed to put some fresh handles on. I had these saved from making other purses years ago. I think this was off one of my sandals or an old purse, can't remember which. And we carried the green over there. And I do have, because it's sort of on display in my art room up there, a Beatrix Potter watercolor travel kit. Little gold ribbon makes it special. Excuse me. So I'm going to open it up and show you actually what's inside, what I would travel with to do some watercolors. So normally I would have on the top there my watercolor tray, but I've got colors in it because I was working with it yesterday. And I would have some watercolor paper. These are postcards, so they're neat for traveling, and you can paint a little picture on it and send it to somebody if you desire. I have usually a bag full of paints, and I like to take on with me a little watercolor sponge. I can get water out of whatever device I've brought to carry it. Some Q-tips to move things around. You need Kleenexes sometimes with watercolors to get the excess off, which is what I ran into yesterday. I was going a little bit too heavy in the colors and I wanted it paler. But I did use the colors that were in here, and they're not expensive. They're just something that you can sketch with, bring home your painting, and if you choose to enlarge it to a bigger painting, you do so from the sketch. I also like to carry a couple brushes. This actually holds some brushes too, this tube up here. These are watercolor pencils, which are quite fun, so you can do some sketching with those and then add water and smoosh around to your delight. I keep a towel in there with me, but also I found this nice little travel kit here. Just got to get in, there we go. And so it gives you quite a range of colors and a little mixing area here. And I can put a smaller brush in there if I wish. So that goes in there. There's a nice towel, as I say, for mopping up. I did pre-cut some cardstock. I know in landscape a square is not the best, but I could maybe do one here and turn it around and do another one. Again, they're not meant to be perfect when you take it out and do your sketching. It's for your enjoyment as well as your learning. And then I did find this little booklet that I could actually sketch away in. It has some texture to it. I did like the feel of that paper. So all of that gets carried in there, and you don't need a whole lot. A pencil, a little color, and you're off. But I did like the process of actually making this. And it's something that I can, as I say, have on display and reminds me of the movie and it's creative. So let's get that out of the way for a second. And we'll move on to the creative process for the sheet that I talked about. Now, when I tip this down, you'll see some of the paints that I was using, and this is the card deck that was the inspiration. I can zoom in there a little bit so you can see some of the colors. And this is from my palette what I came up with, little color swatches. And I just sort of moved those around on the page to start with. I did pre-mix some colors. And I gotta tell you, there's one color in the batch here that was not watercolor, it's acrylic. And my goodness me, this is staining stuff. When it goes down, you gotta be quick to move it and try not to get it on your clothing like I did, because I've got my shirt soaking from yesterday because it's so full of that one color. Beautiful color, yes, it is. But dangerous color. Danger, Lori. Okay, now you can see, as I say, some of the colors in front of me, and they were mixes that went in to make those. And so I'm just going to, oh yeah, maybe I'll tell you about these ones. These are more watercolor pencils. These are Faber-Castell that I got in Britain years ago when I was traveling. And they're quite nice. I was using those yesterday. And the other ones, the brand name there are Cumberland Derwent watercolors. I think they're one of the top, but they're made in Britain too. Hail to Britain. Okay, and I had a couple brushes on the go. I had this fine little one here, and that is Paintworks. And I was using a broader one to put the water down with and apply some of the heavier patches of color with this one. And it is Opus. Now, Opus was a art company in BC, so I really liked their products. Now let's get to it. So I'm going to move the cards away for a moment. I don't need my color swatches anymore. So each of the suits are going up there for now, out of the way of my paints. And the box can go there. And if I pull this back, you get a chance to see some of the colors and how they went down. So if I take it off zoom, there we go. So those were the colors from the tray and the color swatches. And I went too heavy on my tree. I really liked the tree behind here. But you know, sometimes when you're working a painting, it goes through some really ugly stages before you get to the pretty stage. And so the tree I put down in all my haste and excitement was in here, and it was just too heavy. And it wasn't giving me that soft look that I wanted. So this was intended to be a page, yes, for putting the cards down on. And we can do that now just for the fun of it with the kings here. So the first position to go down would be, now this is from, I was watching videos with the Gypsy Mermorn or something years ago, and there was Russian card meanings, but I found I didn't want to put too many cards down as a beginner years ago when reading cards, and there's still much to be learned now, and if you move away from it and into tarot, you lose some of the memory to the old-fashioned way of reading the cards. So I chose 5 positions, and there was another fellow called Dimitri that was French, I believe, and might have been Russian, and he had a nice way of looking at the cards. So the first card going down in that spot, that's the significator card. That's the person card, or it will be what the reading is focusing towards. Now, number 2 and 3 that border it, that's going to be influences around the situation. And the 4th position down here is subconsciously what's going on. We've put ourselves in this position. We can sort of tune into what's around us, how the mood is, the temperature of the people that we're working with, all kinds of things. And then this is subconsciously, is it working for us or against us? And Dimitri looked at this card over here and called it the game changer card. Now, he may not have used this layout exactly, but I liked some of the ideas. So we would look at this position when we would shuffle the cards properly and put our intention in, that this was the thing that would change it. This is like the key in the Lenormand decks. This is important, this position. So you can see that the cards are going to look kind of good on that. I'm not sure if I'm going to add anything in here, but all I was doing was dipping into water, and I like to pool some water and then add the actual color in, because it will stay in that wet area. And then I can move on to another wet area once I put it in, and just dropping little colors. And if I move fairly quickly, I can get soft edges. If you let it dry, you're going to get that hard edge, and I didn't want that. So if I take these away for a moment, get back to the page that we want to work on and clear some space for me. There might be some artists out there, because tarot readers do have quite a lot of skills. And I find a lot of tarot readers do Reiki, they do tarot of the cards, they do playing cards, they do energy work other than Reiki, and they're artistic or they sew. There's just so many avenues that we can get into. But I'm going to put my cloth down here to the right, and I'm going to bring my paints over should I desire to use them. But I think what I'm going to do is, there's a section in the cards that appears over and over with the Chinese lettering. And I don't know that lettering at all, but I like the idea of the balance it brings and the contrast. So I thought what I would do was to take, let's see, I'm looking for it over here. I've got it out. I'm going to take this watercolor pencil, and I'm just going to try to bring the symbols of the suits in here. And I'm going to be doing it in black just because, as I say, I want that Chinese lettering idea to be appearing down the side over here. So I'm going to just keep plugging away at this. Yeah, I could do it in the different colors for the suits, but that's not the look I'm going for. And I am trying to work around the camera here, which is a little bit difficult. And that's the idea. And I also like the fact that there's streams of symbols and they go different lengths. So the next one I'll probably start up here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want that look. That's what I'm going for. So I'm going to pause the camera here and come back when I've done a little bit more. Okay, I'm back again. I was going to mention that you can sharpen these watercolor pencils if you need a finer point. And I'm almost getting to the point in here that I'm happy with the look that I got going here. And that's my wands or my clubs. And we'll go back. Let's see, I get diamonds, spades, clubs. That should be hard. Now I could add water to this, as I say, but I'm not sure if I want to. And I did bring an eraser down so I can take away some of the pencil lines that I put there. So I'll let that sit for a bit because that gives me the look I'm going for in that area there. So that goes back there. And then I wanted to just number these right now with pencil because it's a little bit finer and I don't want really everything showing up. So I could go 2, 3, or I could go 2, 3 that way. I think I'm going to make this number 2 here. So I'm just going to sketch that in. This will be number 3 card position. And then I think I'll put the 4 here. And the 5 here. Yeah, I could have gone for the corners, but yeah, it's just me. I do things wacko all the time, but I'm not one who likes to stick to the rules and follow everything in perfect sequence. That's just not me. So now, is there anything else I wanted to do? I'm just going to show you that I can intensify any of these lines here if I wanted to. These are just very nice little pencils. And I can go into all kinds of colors. Get rid of my... So afraid I'm going to spill that water all over my cloth here. So here's a nice little pink. And as I say, you can sharpen these. So I'm just going to go over to the side here with my... Yeah, you can travel with one of those sharpeners. And I used to have one in that kit, but I stole it when I was working on another project. So I'm just bringing in a little bit more color. And I'll run some of this down here. I do like the blue-gray that happened. That was quite nice. And I found that in a separate little box I can show you. This was another travel kit that somebody discarded one day. And it is vintage. And they still have the original brushes in it and a little mixing tray. But it's the third color over from the top row, that blue. That brought in some really nice blue-grays. And I'm not opposed to adding a little bit of white once in a while because it dulls it down, makes it chalky. So I can eliminate some of the card area there. And then I thought I might accentuate, like if this here was a burst of flowers, like on, okay, sort of like a Ming tree here. There's a little bursts of flowers on the limbs. So I could go in and I could put some texture in here to make it look, and extend this over here. And then I could take a brush. It doesn't have to be too big, just a little one. And if I go back into my colors again, I might take a little bit of the pinky white that I had going, and I could apply some of that. But that seems to be pretty set up. That's not the pencil. Find the pencil more. In here. Oh, I love that little dot of blue that's coming in there. That's kind of pretty. So you can see you can add in more color. You can add in pencil crayon. Yeah, I'm digging that color there. So I'll dip into some more of that. And in a quite watery way, make it look like a batch of flowers. And then I leave some scattered. And I can fill this part up here behind the tree to add a little bit of depth, pretending that there's some flowers there. And bring a few over if I wish. So the whole thing is just to get you going, and if you want to play and create a cloth, you could do dyes on silk if you wanted to. You could stitch it. Just something to lay your cards on versus just the table. I've always loved using cloths. I think it adds a little bit of importance to the reading. And not everything has to join up, and you can overdo it too, so just gotta be careful. If it gets a little spotty, you can back it off with more water. I put my water away so I wouldn't spill it here. and just let it go. Have some fun. All right. Now, as I say, I'm not sure what might happen over here. I might dip into some more color, and not as intense as there, but a little bit over here. And it did dry quite nicely overnight. This is some watercolor paper, and it's a block. And when you work on a block, it's very forgiving as far as if you can put color down and let it sit, it will dry nice and flat. And I thought for the cards, I would want them to be on a fairly flat surface. Now I might bring in a little pink in here. You know, you play. So that's not too bad, and it wasn't about the tree so much in there. I just wanted a hint. This fills up some of that over there. I might want to go sort of mauvey, so I'm going to take some, you can't see it, it's off to the side, and if I bring it any closer, it might just get in my way. So there's a little bit of mauve, and I like the fact that that's filling in that area. But if I did this layout, and this was the Game Changer card, I might want to put another card over here as to, okay, how do I proceed? So this spot might be nice sort of left, so I can add another card if I want to. And if it's a little bit intense, you can back it off with water, more pink. I can bring it up to that card. And that one has a little bit of white in it, and it adds a little burst. It's just a bright spot. Okay, I think I might join this so it's not so floaty. Piece by piece, it holds together. And I think I'm going to say, this looks a little bit white in here compared to the rest of the cards. So I'm going to shove this over a bit. You always end up with a ton of pencils and everything in your hands, full up. So I might try. Nope, that went a little bit muddy. Got into a bad spot there. Now this one is a little bit peachy. I don't mind that. Just trying to cut down on some of the white. Now you can take a Kleenex and knock it back a little bit if you find it too intense. So I'm going to do a little bit more here on this, grab some water, and I'll check back with you again in a second. Well, you know, yeah, I'll check back in a second. So what I got going on once I got some water was a little area in the card that I could give the hint of maybe a tree line. And so I'm just washing that in. And I have a lot of evergreens around me right now, so I might be trying to create some of that idea. That's not too bad. And I might just try to fade it off a little bit with some water. I'm not opposed to having some white there. This is the Game Changer card. So I think for now I'm going to stop. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the process. And I think I'll let it dry before I introduce the cards on top and do a little reading with some of the older method meanings. Okay, so this is Craggy Brooks saying, have fun, guys.